to the show. Today we have Hayleye Edwards on. I can't wait for you guys to hear from her because she is the Instagram DM queen. This girl is a high-touch social media lead generation and DM nurture strategist. That is a mouthful. But basically, she empowers entrepreneurs to release the hassle of social media lead generation because she will nurture people in your DMs to natural sales. So she finds the people, she does the DMing, she nurtures them, she captures your voice, and then basically gets them to a point of where they're ready to buy from you, all in the DMs to save up your time. Because if anyone's like me, they know they can get stuck in the DMs all freaking day, just chatting, getting to know people, getting them ready to buy. So that's what she does for you because she's passionate about relieving the stress of lead generation and social media engagement. She believes time is energy and you should spend yours doing what you love. I 100% agree. And that's why she's on the show today. So welcome.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so excited you heard. Do you have a podcast yet?
No, I don't.
We're gonna have to chat about that, but okay.
Yeah, I should.
So tell us, because we all want to know, like, first of all, before we get started, what's the number one mistake people are making in the DMs right now?
Oh, so cold DMing is still very much live, but if we take out cold DMing, the number one thing people do is they pitch too soon. And when I say pitch, I mean like you'll say hi to somebody and they'll be like, "Hey, I have something for you." And it's not a cold DM because you've started a conversation. However, it's still very cold and it's not classy. And nobody wants to just like say hi to somebody and then have them be like, "Oh, I have this that can help you." It's like, no, learn a little bit about the person. So definitely making sure that you spend time learning about somebody is going to help. And if not, you're making the top mistake that people are making right now.
Now, it's interesting you say that because I also know people who wait too long and then it comes across as sneaky and people don't
Yeah,
do that either. So I always tell
that's true.
people you need to be upfront about who you are and what you do. So people don't
Yep.
feel like you're trying to sneak attack them with a sale because sneaky never sells. Because if you get in their DMs and you're just like, how are you? How's your dog?
Yeah.
You do? What do you
How's your
like?
dog?
People are like, why do you want to know all of this about me? So
Yeah.
what do you think is like the perfect place? And how do you go about being like upfront with who you are and what you do, but not in a way that's like, hey, I'm pitching you from the get-go or waiting to
Yeah.
be sneaky?
I love that question. So I learned this all by trial and error. And the number one thing that helps is you do be upfront, but you don't do it in a way of like, I'll use my own story. Like, hey, you're 3 months postpartum. I have a program that can help you. Like that's being too upfront and quite frankly rude. So the best way you can do it is you're gonna find these people based off of like they're your ideal client. So they would be considered like a lead. So you know that you can help them with something, you can solve their problem. So what you do, what I like to do is if they, let's say, do a post about how like they're struggling, if they're like in network marketing with reaching their ideal client, I will literally comment and I'll do a thoughtful comment and then I'll send them a DM and be like, "Hey, I actually want to help you. Like this is what I do and I'm going to share some value so that you can walk away changing something." And then it starts a dialogue and they start to see because you've built that trust from the start that you know what you're talking about. And then you can easily slide into, "Hey, if you need help with this, like if you want more information, I have a deep dive." And that just opens up dialogue for even more communication. And so that's one way to do it. If you don't have a segue in, but you know that they're your ideal client, then you don't want to ask like how their dog is. People know it's like fishing. They know now. But you get in and you can just say stuff like, "Hey, I noticed you sell, I'm gonna say like Modair. Like, how did you get started in that? I used to do like Young Living. And then, now I shifted to like lead generation." And then you throw out what you do and they can decide if they want to continue the conversation. And then you segue. So they tell you a little about it, like, "Oh, well, how's selling it going? Like, that's what I help with. And like, I can give you some tips." And you always share that little bit of free value without going crazy. You don't want to give them everything.
So what I hear you saying is you're finding a point to relate to them on. You're
Yeah.
finding a point to relate to them on, and at the same time telling them about you. And
Yeah.
so
And
that's
it's
building
deeper.
rapport. That's
Yeah.
building rapport with people. So when
Yeah.
you say, hey, how long have you been selling Modere? If you were to just stop there, people would think you're fishing. But when you
100%.
throw in the, I used to sell Young Living, you are connecting with them.
Yep.
You're finding a point of relatability.
Yep.
So always start your DMs, is what I tell people, by finding a point of relatability, first of
Yeah.
all, and show them I'm trying to relate. I'm trying to connect
Yeah.
with you. Like that's
Yeah.
what's first. Now I
Yeah.
know that I do this, but hey, I totally understand like the network marketing model. That's cool. Like how long have you been
Yeah.
doing that? That
Yeah.
feels honest. That
Mhm.
feels like genuine curiosity, and you're relating to them. You're not just fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, by taking you out of that friend zone of just a conversation, I struggled, and this is like legitimate, with talking to people that I'd never met with like Young Living. And like they tell you to sell to your family and friends, and that didn't feel right to me, but I didn't know any other way. If that's you, I would love to give you a few tips. Like, do you want to hop on like a quick strategy call? And, or if you don't want to, like I don't have time to get on strategy calls. So I will literally just be like, hey, shoot me a message on Boxer really quick. And I'll spend a day like back and forth, just kind of giving you tips. And every time I do that, they either sign on as a client or they purchase like a passive offer that I have.
I love it. So that leads me to my next question for you. How do you get out of the friend zone? Because a lot of people, I think, get stuck in the friend zone when it comes to Instagram and wanting to sell, and they hear you're so inspiring, but, and it's like the whole like it's me, it's not you, right? When it comes
Yes.
to dating. So how
Yes.
do you
Or
get,
like the money objections.
well, it's any objection. You're so
Yeah.
inspiring,
Any
but
objection.
fill in the blank with an objection, right?
Yeah.
Same thing as
Yeah.
being rejected when you're dating, right? So how do you get out
Yeah.
of
Oh,
the friend zone?
yeah. I think you get out of the friend zone the exact same way that you would if you're dating. You kind of be very upfront with your intentions, and you do it strategically. So you always have to have a plan. You can't jump in the water if you don't know how to swim without a life jacket. If you have no idea what you're doing in the DMs, don't just dive in. Like actually have a plan. So for example, do your research. Learn a little bit about her more than just that she has a dog. Like see what she does, do kind of like an audit if you're the kind of person that's very like in the analytics like I am. And if you're in network marketing, for example, and you're like with Young Living and you're looking for somebody who could benefit from oils because they help your immune system, you're going to want to reference that in the conversation. So, hey, I noticed like you did a post about like how allergies are killing you right now. Have you ever tried using like lemon and lavender in a roller bottle? And like you can get in that way, and you're automatically starting with sharing value. So you're not friend zoned because you're not just like, oh, hey, like I see you have a dog. So cute. I have one too. And then it's like you get 1 to 2 back and forth and you're done. So you want to share value from the start. And if you can't share value, they're probably not your ideal client because you have nothing you can actually serve them or help them with.
So, how did you get into this business if you did Young Living before?
Oh, I've done everything. I started working at 12. So I hung up bikinis in a surf shop for no money, just exchange for bikinis. And then I worked, it was great. It was the best job. I always
Why
say,
did
like,
you want bikinis so bad?
because I live a block even now from the beach, and bikinis are expensive. Like
Yeah.
good ones, they're like $50 for a top and then a bottom. So I didn't just have the cash. So I was, it's like, hey, and nobody likes to hang up bikinis. So it's like, I'll do your grunt work. You pay me in, bikinis. So I was a bartender for a long time. I've been a medical assistant, went to nursing school, was a vet tech. I've done and Young Living. But I got into this because I worked for a company that I loved, and it was all about digital sales, and it was about building connections with people. You had 15 minutes to do it. That's it. From the time you clicked on them and you opened them up, you had 15 minutes to convince them that they needed what you had to offer. And I loved it. Oh, it was so great. I can't say who they are because when I got laid off, I signed a non-disclosure, but it was the best thing ever. And you get feedback a few days later, and they'd be like, Hayley made me feel so wonderful. She inspired me. Like she was totally right on. And now I feel like a different person because it was in fashion, which is ironic because I live in the same pair of leggings and shirts all day long. But so yeah, and then COVID hit and I got laid off, and it broke me, like every part of me, because I had found something that I felt like I could thrive in And that just made my heart happy. I got up every day wanting to do it,
Oh,
and it just got taken away. And I was looking for jobs as like a telemarketer because there was nothing. It was COVID. Like, what could
no.
we do? And my sister-in-law, who is a digital marketing queen, was kind of just like, have you ever thought about doing what you did for corporate, like for yourself and not having to answer to anybody? And so I just took lots of classes. I worked for free for like 4 months on a friend's account, doing like pretty much case study after case study. And then just jumped in and ended up taking the model and then really switching it for like social media platform. And I came up with what I call Instagram isn't speed dating. And that's what I use.
Oh my gosh. And it's so cool because you not only started your own business, but you've hired on people in your business too.
Yeah, I have 3 like private contracted employees that work for me. I just hired an assistant and I'm hoping to hire an intern in the next like month. So
You started
it's,
a year ago.
yeah, like a
That's
year ago, like 3 days ago. Yeah.
that's so amazing. Congrats. Amazing. I
Thank
love that
you.
you took like COVID and losing your job and let it lead to something better. Was that like an easy switch for you to be like, oh hey, I think I'll go do this? Or
No, no, I don't think I had any time to think. I was in a super high risk pregnancy and I literally was like, I have to do something because by the time my little one gets here, like I'm gonna have to have something figured out. And my first child was born with a lot of health issues, and I didn't know if this one would be too. So I was like, I can't go back to work. So I kind of just had to figure it out. And no, it was so much harder. Like I love answering to people. I never thought I would, but it gives me that like you're doing it good, like you're doing a good job kind of feel. And so when I didn't get that, like, working for myself, I felt like I just had to go, 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 go. And I've been burnt out a few times. I've pivoted a few times, like the strategy, and I'm constantly rewriting strategy. So it was an adjustment. It still is an adjustment, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
well, that's amazing. And I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
So, speaking of strategy, what kind of strategy are you using these days for the DMs for your personal clients?
Oh, so there's quite a bit, but the easiest ones that like I can explain is one base of how I write all of my strategy. And when I say strategy, like my frameworks for my conversations, how I find leads, all of that is just it's kind of simple. It's like a Google Sheets. And in this Google Sheets has like 30 questions of like, okay, to be a true lead, they need to check the box of like all these different things. So I'll plug them in per like my client. This is their ideal, target customer. And then I'll go to accounts and now I don't have to look at the Google Sheets, but they have to check all of these boxes to be like an actual lead. So the strategy is just mainly doing audits, like constantly doing account audits and making sure that you are indeed going to spend your time engaging with the people that will want to buy from you, because you can go out and get 100 followers in like 3 hours, just the follow, mass follow and like thing. And that doesn't do anything for you. And then the biggest DM strategy and framework I can give everybody is mirroring language. So when they say something, literally spit it right back, because it shows that you're listening, that you actually care, and that you're taking the time to like mirror that language back. And I did a few case studies where like with different accounts, like this account I would mirror, and don't worry, the people knew I was doing this, but this account I wouldn't mirror. And I did and saw the differences, and the data was it was like 95% response rate when you would mirror language to like a 38% response rate when you didn't, because they felt more heard and it just triggers something. So
Ooh, that's such a good tip. So, speaking
thanks.
of, let's talk about engagement versus converting. You just talked about that with like, you can get followers, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get more sales. And I
Yeah.
think this is where entrepreneurs can get hung up is like, when they look at their insights, they might see, "Oh, I'm getting less likes or I'm not getting any followers." And they think that's a bad thing and they can beat themselves up and have guilt. But I
Yeah.
always look at, well, what are your sales? Like
Yeah.
what's your conversion of like what you were
Yeah.
offering people? Let's look
Yeah.
at that versus the likes and the followers. So
Yeah.
talk about engagement versus converting.
Well, so there, and there's two different kinds of engagement. So the kind that I do is it's very connection based. So like I'm reading a post all the way through and I'm mirroring that language and I'm connecting. I'm doing the same thing I do in the DMs. I'm trying to let them see like I'm paying attention. I see you, I hear you, and here are my thoughts. And when you do that, it leads to sales because they have that trust that's been built. When you're just going out and doing like a like and a comment that's like an emoji, like sure, the algorithm doesn't care, but people do. And so that isn't going to lead to anything. It might lead to them following you out of curiosity and then unfollowing, but it's not going to lead to sales. And when it comes to like just engagement in general, I can go out and go to the, I don't know, top hashtag out there, which I mean, hot girl summer is like trending. I don't know why. So I could go to hot girl summer and literally comment on 100 people in an hour. And most likely I'll get some follows back, I'll get some kind of attention, or I could just go follow those 100 people. It's not, and they're going to follow me back because that's what people are trained to do. But those people, there's no strategy behind it. They're not my target audience. They're, anybody and like under the sun. So you can go engage with as many people as you want, but if you're not doing it strategically and having your ideal client in mind and checking all those boxes, you're not going to get sales. And so people seem to think like, oh, I have 1,000 likes. Okay. Or, on a post, but, no comments. Okay. Well, you're just getting liked then. Oh, I have, 40,000 followers, but I only get 2 sales a month. Or you can have 1,000 followers and be making sales every day. So as if you're bringing in 1,000 of your target client, you're going to do better than the person that has 40,000 of just randoms. So there's literally no connection between like engagement and conversion are like two separate things, and it has to be a well-oiled machine to bring them together.
So what's the number one thing people do to fix that and start getting more conversion?
Quality over quantity. Like literally go into your Instagram if you're using it for business with the mindset of, okay, I might only talk to 5 people today, but they are going to be my 5 like ideal client. I would love to work with them. Here's how I can relate to them. And then have that plan. Know exactly what you're doing. Don't just like shoot from the hip and be like, oh, I'm going to just, do some emojis, like throw some hearts out there, like double tap. Like actually go into it with the mindset of, okay, I need to do what I would in real life. Like I need to connect with this person in order for them to even give me the time of day. And that's what I'm setting out to do. So just taking the time to be human, that's gonna make all the difference.
Well, there's a couple things there I want to dig into, but the first one we'll talk about with being a person in the DMs, right? Having those conversations in the DMs like you would in person, kind of like you were just talking about. And so many people I know are like in the DMs and they're like, I feel awkward in the DMs. And I'm always like, well, why aren't you approaching it the same way you would if you were in person? Like if you were in person, you wouldn't walk up to someone and talk that way, like
Yeah.
the way you would in the DMs. But for some reason that doesn't translate for people. Like they have a hard time grasping that concept. So
Yeah.
what do you have to say about that?
I think with anything, it's like you have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like if you are comfortable online just sending a bunch of cold DMs, that obviously it's not going to get you anywhere, but also you're going to be seen online as that like slimy, scuzzy person. So if you're not comfortable with like starting just conversations, like I would really ask yourself like, okay, well, what's different? Like I'm looking at this person's Instagram. I see that we have XYZ in common. Like I'm going to talk about that. Like, if there's a stunning, bombshell at the grocery store and you love her shoes and you're intimidated, it's like, hey, I love your shoes. Like I'm just, instead of being this intimidated little person, for me, I'm going to be like, hey, it's the same thing on Instagram. You can always find something that you love about somebody or that you can relate to and bring it into the DMs. And it's not scary because all you're doing is being a kind human. So if you naturally want to be kind, you're going to be fine. And if you approach these people as people and not like dollar signs or not potential dollar signs, then kindness is just going to come easy. Versus if you're looking at everybody like, oh, well, I could make a sale from them. It's not going to be easy because you're going to have that mental block of like, and all the limiting beliefs of like, what if I don't make a sale? Yep. So coming at it from that friend like I care about you standpoint is key. But also, if you are super overwhelmed to talk to somebody and you don't feel good about it, they're probably not the kind of person you'd want to work with or client you'd want to have. So just like in real life, if I like you, I'm going to interact with you. If I don't, I'm just going to be like, and walk away. Same thing. Just be how you, if you'd want to hang out with them and have lunch, they'd probably be a good client. And then you just figure out a common interest that you guys have.
I've said on this podcast before that my business changed when I, first of all, decided that big things were happening for me and my team, even though I couldn't see it yet. And I started preparing my fields for rain, as I call it, where I basically was like, it's coming. I don't see it yet, but it's coming. So I'm going to start acting like it's coming.
I love that.
Based on that mindset, I was less attached to having to make these DMs sales happen because I was like, well, I know it's happening either way. So it doesn't matter if this person says no, like I know it's happening. And so therefore my goal every day in the DMs was to just make people smile. I was like, my goal with DMs is to make people smile. If I can make someone smile today, awesome. Right. If it leads to the sale, even better. But like, that's not my focus. And like, that's when my business changed. And so I love that you're talking about kindness and being like a kind human. Like, I think we forget, like, if that's your focus and that's your intention, it will always come back to you.
Oh yeah, always.
Now, you also talked about quality over quantity. And this is something I just talked about in my stories the other day and talking about actually deleting some of your followers.
Yes, I love that.
Help your business. So let's talk about why you should be deleting followers and having more quality over quantity.
So I like to, well, my husband knows nothing about social, but I relate it like this to him because he asks, he's like, you only have like 1,000 something. I'm like, yes, but those people literally wait, and like the knowledge that I bring, they soak up. Like they're so engaged, they're so a part of it. And I tell him this, and he like looks at me. I'm like, it's pretty much like if you had a boat, because he's a boat person, full of people that can't swim and are all jumping off. They're like sinking to the bottom. Like all you're doing is bringing people that are going to just take down your trip. You're not going to have any fun because you're going to be jumping in and saving all these people, and that's going to be your day. It's the same thing on Instagram. Like if you have all of these people that are hanging out and just taking up space, just wasted space, like on that boat, it's not going to do you any good. You're going to spend your whole day or, your whole time on Instagram trying to make up for the damage that they're causing, because people that are just looky-loos actually cause damage because they don't interact with you. They don't, buy from you. And so it hurts the algorithm, but it also hurts your business. People think, oh, I'm credible if I have the swipe up feature or if I have more followers. I know for a fact now that businesses are actually looking at people's follower count and going through and auditing and seeing who's real and who's not.
Correct.
Like I literally was asked by a client to go through and audit like 30 of, our ideal applicants and see like who actually is legitimate and who isn't. And only one of them was still dicey, like semi-legitimate, like half of the followers were still bought. And then they won't hire you. And so it's kind of the same thing. Like I won't hire a coach when I go through and see that they're all bought. Like I hired one that only has like 3,000, but they're all there for her. And this was a while ago, but it did better than the person who had like 70,000. So it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you in numerous ways if you are just trying to go for numbers and not people. Like you want people. 1,000 friends would cause me a headache. I have 3 that I love and see all the time and that are here for me. And it's kind of like, it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, I've heard someone say like you can do more with like 1,000 loyal followers than like 10,000 like followers. And that's the truth, because 1,000 people that are like championing you and your biggest fan, they will tell like hundreds of thousands of people about you, right? So
I had that happen yesterday. It was great.
Yeah. So I love that. And I'm getting ready to do a big clean out with mine too. So I'm excited for that. But
don't use programs, but like to anybody listening, don't use cleanup programs. Do it yourself.
Yes. How do you recommend people go about that? And what do they look for to even know if someone's a quality follower or not?
Oh, so how you do it is you go manually, and it's a pain in the butt, but it's effective because all of like the clean out apps are flagged. So you just go through and no profile picture. That's a pretty good key. So you then go and look at the profile. If they are following a ton of people and have like no followers, there's a hint. If they have no posts and they're following a ton of people and they have a ton of followers, that's a hint. If you go on and you see like 5 of the same photos that you see on a bunch of other people's, like there's a few rolling around of like people like standing in front of the Taj Mahal and on like a mountain in Greece, and they're on like a ton of bots profiles because so that they have like posts and rapport, that's a big red flag. Just stock photos that you could like just pull from the internet, red flag. And then I have somebody who actually like they dropped me as a client because of this. She had, I think, like 70,000 followers, but I'm going to say 50% of them were all creepy gentlemen that were just taking up space. But she was like, oh, it shows that I'm credible. I was like, no, it does not. So like, if they're creepy and they give you the heebie-jeebies, just delete them. Like they're just taking up space. So those are the main ones.
Yay. Okay, those are amazing tips. Thank you so much. I'm feeling super inspired to like go clean mine out. And that's where I tell everyone like don't worry about needing all the followers again. Worry about like your sales, your conversion. Worry about
Yeah.
are people actually there for you, which is why you want to be more polarizing on Instagram so that you actually get like real followers that like freaking love you.
Yeah. And shout you from the rooftops.
And shout you from the rooftops. Yeah, rather
Yeah.
than like when you aren't polarizing, aka you don't share real opinions about real world things.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like in the middle. And so people are like in the middle about you. And
Yeah.
you want people that are not in the middle about you. You want people that
No,
are fully in your camp.
fully your camp. And I will say too, though, like also some people watch and wait for a long time. So like I had a client where my whole job was just to love on the people that came in. And it was amazing because they watched and they waited. And when they were ready, they were like, okay, I've built that trust. And if she wouldn't have had that, she doesn't have the time. So they would have just gone unnoticed. And so it's one of those things where it's like you can't love on everybody, but you can try. So if you just give, 5 people this love and really hear them out and pay attention to them, yeah, you're not getting to 15 people, but those 5 people are going to make a difference. And then those 5 people are going to go tell 5 more people. And it's like that snowball effect that you would never have thought that you would have. And it can start by just one person.
Okay, so before we wrap up, if people are out there listening right now and they're like, okay, I really want to make some new sales this month. Like I really want to bring in some clients, but I want to be smart about it and I want to be strategic and I don't have like hours and hours every single day, but I can spend some time on it.
Yeah.
What's the one thing they should do every single day for their social media? Or maybe a couple of things, like maybe 2 things.
Okay. I would spend 30 minutes to an hour if they can, just going through and talking to their target client and leaving thoughtful comments, mirroring back language. If you only get to 5, that's okay. Do a comment and do a story reply. If there's no good stories, push the post to the DMs and like literally say it there. And just really try to build those relationships. And the second thing that kind of piggybacks off that is do like the audit of the people that are following you and engage with some people that you would not be talking to at all. So like, yeah, go out and do the outside lead generation, but also do it at home. Like do it within your followers, because half the time our followers don't get loved on, but our outside people do, or the people coming in do. And so just go through once a day and kind of like, I like to write down the last person that I stopped at, and then the next day, start again. And that way, every single week, you're loving on the people you have. And you'd be surprised how many like clients or like just sales are hiding within the people you have at home, like within your own followers.
Always. I tell everyone, like, always be going through your own followers and loving your own followers and talking to them. Like, that's where your sales are. You don't
Oh,
necessarily
yeah.
new people.
Oh,
Like,
a lot of people don't do that.
if you don't know how to sell to your current following, new people aren't going to change that. Right.
No.
So, like, you got to learn how to sell to your current following.
Yeah. And like, especially like if you're in like network marketing, the rule of thumb that I've heard, because I have a lot of network marketer, not clients, but people that buy passive products. And the number one thing is like, oh, I'm supposed to go out and reach like all these new people every day. And it's like, no, love on the people that are loving on you, or the people that are just hiding, watching, and waiting, because they might be too scared to step up. So, it's like the little shy kid at school, like, be the big personality and, love on them. It's that kind of thing.
Well, if there was someone out there right now in their rock bottom, they've just lost their job, COVID's happening, right? Like that whole situation with you, and they're like, oh my gosh, like my whole life, I just got taken from me. What would you tell them if you could go back in time and talk to you a year ago after you lost your job? Like, what would you tell that, Hayley?
That you can, like, this is so cliche, but that you can literally do anything. You just have to want it bad enough. You have to want to put in the work, and whatever you're going to be, like whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to say you are, actually be that person, because there's so much fakeness going on right now, and don't just do it because it's popular. Like, I actually hated social media. I got off my super like profitable personal account a year before, went from like a couple thousand followers to like a few hundred followers, and because I hated it. And so I made the decision, like, I am going to get back on Instagram, but I'm going to do it for the reasons that I am going to make a difference. I'm going to help people feel good. And if I told myself, if that ever stops, I'm done. I don't care how profitable it is, I'm done. So you can do absolutely anything, but make sure it's what you want to do. Like, don't go be a telemarketer if you don't want to be a telemarketer. There's always another way.
There's always another way. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your amazing tips with us. Tell everyone where they can find you, how they can work with you, like all the things.
You can find me on my website. So it's www.hayleyedwards. Hayleye Edwards Co. .com. There we go. I don't say that often. And then Instagram at Hayleye Edwards Co. is the number one place you can find me. My DMs are literally always open. I mean, that's what I do. So feel free to slide on in there and just say hi, ask questions. And then I do have a course that by the time I think this airs will be out. It's called Instagram Isn't Speed Dating. It literally is going to teach you everything you need to know to go from not knowing anything or any way to get into people's DMs and convert them and take you to the point where you can be doing what I do. And it's full of goodies and tips and tricks and all that fun stuff. And so that will be on my website and in my bio on my Instagram. You guys can find me there.
Yay. All right, everyone, go out and start implementing in your DMs today, because action is what changes things in your life and in your business. So thank you so much for listening in. And remember, if you love this episode, take a screenshot, share it on social media, tag Hayley and I, tell us what your biggest takeaway was. We love hearing the feedback and hearing how we served you guys. That's our one way of getting some love back. So
yes,
don't forget to do that and share it with a friend. All right, everybody, thanks for listening in. Have an amazing day.
Bye.